Hey folks, welcome to Solar Cabin Channel. I just came out here to what I call the dunes, where I like to bring my dogs to go hiking and adventuring. We came out here yesterday, and I noticed that a lot of the desert plants are now in bloom, and it was just beautiful. I didn't have my camera then, so I brought my camera back out this morning to take some video and pictures of these to show you. Now, a little history of this area. This is what they call high desert country. We're at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, and this area in here is what they call high desert country. Now, originally, this was a hunting grounds and camping grounds for the Native Americans, and both the Yucca tribe and the Navajo tribe use this as their hunting grounds in this area. And then in the late 1800s, they opened this up to homesteading, and my granddad and my grandma and their big family moved into this area and homesteaded in this area, had about 200 acres. And my property with my cabin is probably about just a mile down the road from here. This is what all of this territory kind of looked like that I'm going to show you around here before the homesteaders moved in, and then they did a lot of irrigation work. They brought in ditches, they irrigated the area and turned it all nice and green and created a lot of farmland. But this is what it looked like before that. And people kind of think, well, that really looks pretty barren, but actually this area is a habitat for a lot of different animals, a lot of different plants. There's deer, there's elk, there's rabbit, and a lot of rabbits here, and so the Native Americans were actually able to survive quite well in this area. There's also a lot of native plants, and I'm trying to learn more about the native plants. I'm no expert on native plants, but I'm trying to learn more about the native plants. I'm especially interested in these high desert plants because they're beautiful, I think, and also they're very useful. And if you happen to need some survival skills and you're in an area like this, you may want to know what these plants are so that you can maybe use them to your benefit. So I'm going to walk you around. We'll show you some plants. Hope you enjoy that, and we'll discuss some of the uses of these plants. All right, dogs, you ready for a walk? Let's go. Okay, so this is one of the most common plants that we'll see here in the high desert. These are, of course, called prickly pears or cactus. And these are what they call the desert rose. And you can see they come in a variety of colors. This one hasn't opened up yet, but it's kind of a pinkish red color. Those are all going to be red colors, and then these yellow ones are opened up. They're on the same plant. I'm not exactly sure why they have yellow and red flowers, but I'll have to look that up. But cactus are pretty common here, called prickly pears. I have to train my dogs to stay away from them because they'll end up with them in their feet. But these can also be edible, and any cactus can provide some moisture. We also have barrel cactuses in the area. They're a lot more rare. If I come across a barrel cactus, I'll show you that. But these are very common. You'll see these around here. They have beautiful flowers. I love the looks on these flowers. Just got to be careful here. See if I can show it to you there. Got a beautiful rose-looking flower, and they only bloom for a short time, and they are also very attractive to the native bees. That is the wild bees and also flies that actually do a lot of the pollinating for our gardens and our farm fields around here. So they come and also pollinate these plants here. It isn't the bees that you see raised in a hive, which we would call domesticated bees. It is the wild bees and flies that do most of the pollinating in this area. So these are the cactus. You'll find stumps of them all over here. Got to kind of watch your step. If you get these thorns in you, you'll be paying a price for beautiful flowers, and I always love coming out and watching it, coming out here at this time of year to see these in bloom. All right, so let's go look around for some other plants. Okay, so this is another plant that's very common in this high desert area. These are cedar trees. This is a dead cedar tree. These are the live cedar trees. I'm showing you the dead cedar tree because as you can see how they grow, these are not the type of cedar trees that they would use for building materials, okay? They grow all kinds of ski-wampas. However, the Native Americans liked them because they make great firewood, and they can just break off branches off of these real easy without an axe or anything to make fires for their campgrounds. They also, I understand that they would take the berries, which are on the trees, usually in the later fall, and they can grind those into a type of flour. Now, I have tasted the cedar berries just off of the tree, and they're extremely bitter. So I don't know how good the flour was, but I guess if you're really hungry, you wouldn't have a problem with making flour out of cedar berries. But they are excellent for making fires and firewood. They provide shade. They also hold the sand down so everything doesn't erode off. And so they're a very beneficial tree. And the deer and the elk and the rabbits all love to hang out around them because they get a lot of shade. in this area. So these are a common tree in this area, and you see these all over in this high desert country. I happen to think they're beautiful. If you get property that has these on, I wouldn't remove them all. I would leave some on your property because I think they're great trees. And also, they last a really long time. They don't get very tall, maybe 10, 15 feet at the tallest, but they will live for hundreds of years. And they require no care whatsoever in this type of soil without any water or anything else like that. So they are survivors. Very common. So another plant that's also very common in this area is sagebrush, which we get all over here. Now, sagebrush, or what they are sometimes called deerbrush, does bloom, and it gets these little teeny yellow flowers on it. They do have kind of stickers on them, so they're kind of tough to mess with. However, once they die out, which you might see some around here, once they die out, they do make good firewood. That's about all they are good for. However, I have heard that if you take the blooms off of these and you rub it between your hands and then you rub it on your skin, it is a natural repellent for mosquitoes and deer flies. I haven't tried that out, don't know if it actually works, but that's what I've been told from the old timers. My granddad and that used to say if you rub that on you, it's a natural repellent for mosquitoes and deer flies. Might work, I don't know. Give it a try sometime. All right, sagebrush is pretty much everywhere. Again, these are plants that don't require any water or anything like that. They can be a nuisance because once they dry out, they'll turn into the tumbleweeds, and that's you'll see rolling around. They do have stickers on them, and so it can be kind of a nuisance plant, but they're helping to hold the sand in place so this doesn't erode. So they're a very beneficial plant in the environment. Okay, so this is a really interesting plant. This is called the Yucca plant, Y-U-C-C-A. You may have seen these in other deserts. They are even used commonly in borders around houses, especially around windows and places like that, because they happen to have a really sharp leaf that's like a, they have a leaf that's really pointy, really sharp, and is shaped like a spear, and people will sometimes plant these in their yards, and they can grow quite big, and the leaves can get really big and long and dangerous if you was to fall into one. Because they can be a natural defense around your houses. But here in the desert, they generally don't get quite as big, and that right now they're in bloom, and they get these beautiful blooms on them. Now, this plant also has a lot of benefits, which is probably why the Native Americans camped in this area a lot. These plants contain a chemical called soapin, which is the root word of soap. Lots of plants do have that chemical in them, but the yucca plant also has it. It is an excellent chemical that can be used as a shampoo or a soap. And what you do is you dig the plant up, and then you take the root, you slice off all of the brown stuff on the root and just leave the white part of the root. Then you can slice that, grind it, and turn it into a type of soap for washing your hands, washing your hair. And the Native Americans would use this as soap, and so would the homesteaders. These blooms on these are very soft, and they're actually edible. You can fry the blooms up, and you can fry the stems up. But don't try and eat the leaves. They're probably going to be very bitter. Won't taste very good. But they're in bloom right now. Their blooms will kind of open up and then they close down. And this is a patch of them all through here that grows every year. And they generally do grow in patches. You won't usually find just one of these out away from a bunch. For some reason, they always grow kind of in a patch fairly close to each other, where the seeds kind of drop off in the ground, so they keep new plants always growing here. And this is a nice patch of yucca plants that would be very beneficial if you was camping in this area and you needed soap and you wanted to fry up some of the flowers and plants. You've got your soap and your edible product and your edible crop right there. Now here's another beautiful plant in the high desert here, and I'm not exactly sure what kind of plants these are. I believe that they are probably either a type of sunflower or a cornflower. Wild variety. They do have beautiful blooms on them. They don't bloom for a very long period of time, but they have a beautiful yellow color to them here in the desert. And their leaves do kind of have little teeny stickers on them. I'm not sure what the variety is. I will have to look these up, find out if there's any type of use other than to look at. But they are a beautiful flower. And they kind of also grow in spots together, okay? So you usually find them here and there's a couple of three different little patches of these also mixed in with the yucca. So, nature has a way of organizing their plants so that they survive and also are beautiful. Okay folks, so that was my adventure with the dogs today. They've had a good time chasing rabbits and lizards around here. You get to see some of the area as it was natural when my granddad first moved here and started homesteading, and how the Native Americans lived and survived in this area. It's a beautiful country as far as I'm concerned. And lots of flowers and that this time of year in the spring. And I will take my camera along with me on more of these adventure hikes with the dogs. And as I spy new plants, I'll take some pictures and video of them. Like I said, I'm no expert in plants, so you know, if you happen to see something and you can identify it in the comments, please do. You'd help us all out. I'll take these pictures back now and I'll do more research on them. That way in the next videos, maybe I'll be able to tell you more about the plants. All right. Okay folks, so I got to come clean and tell you my scary story of while I was out here hiking. This area, we generally don't have rattlesnakes in this area, and so I've never worried about them or anything like that. But when I sat down on a rock to shoot one of the videos, my closing video for my closing scene for this video, all of a sudden Taz come over and she spooked a snake, and I couldn't tell what kind of snake it was at first. And I don't like snakes of any kind. It turned out to be a blow snake, and it skedaddled up through the rocks. It was as scared of us as we were of it, and so would a rattlesnake probably. But because I have dogs, and the dogs are not trained to stay away from snakes, I panic if they're around any type of snake out here that it could possibly be a rattlesnake. Just something to be aware of. If you're out in the high desert or woods or country like that, be aware of what kind of poisonous animals might be out there that you might run into, and be prepared. Because you know, if you sit down on a pile of rocks, you never know what's decided to take a nap underneath those rocks. All right, that was my funny story for the day. Hope you enjoyed that. All right, folks, have a great day and get outside and do some hiking with your dogs.